Hi, Wealth Builders. Welcome back to another episode of Sweet Millionaire Formula, the weekly show where we bring together individuals seeking to break the cycle of financial inequality by building generational wealth. I'm your host, Courtney Davis, two-time best-selling author and CEO of Sweet Millionaire Formula. For more information, please follow us on Instagram and to keep up with our webinars and in-person activities. This is going to be another exciting episode, but first, a word from our sponsors. Are you looking for your skin to glow this summer with a hydrating moisturizer that protects against UV rays? Well, Spa Weekend has the perfect item for you. Our new hydrating moisturizer gives you a hydrating skin moisturization that lasts all day. It's lightweight, non-greasy, and perfect for everyday use. When you get out the pool, you're going out to eat, you want to have that moisture and glow to your face, you will use our moisturizer at Spa Weekend Cosmetics. Guess what, Wealth Builders? Build Generational Wealth Period is released on Amazon. Sweet Millionaire Formula has produced its first book and its #1 best-selling. Build Generational Wealth is available now on Amazon. Tired of just hearing how to build wealth and want to know the actual steps? Well, we have the 12 steps to secure your financial future. It's available now on Amazon. Build Generational Wealth. Period. Amazing wealth builders. I am so excited to come back with today's episode. This episode is a testament to the strength of a Black woman, the power of a nation and democracy, and what is it that we're fighting for, and why is this election so important? I believe that we have our duty to represent for our country as a democracy, and that takes place when we vote. No matter the obstacles, whenever you want something bad enough, you find a way to get it. So in this election season, we are finding a way to make sure that we're registered and that we're in line with a proper ID to vote. So how did they do it? How did they raise millions of dollars for Kamala Harris in a matter of hours? I know everybody wants to know that burning question because I had to do my own research to properly prepare for this episode to bring you guys some amazing knowledge. We have some facts today. We have some history today. But more importantly, we're going to have a collective episode where we bring together our mindsets. We bring together our power of our words, because we know that this election is important, and we know that in order for us to go to the next level and to be able to be safe and to be able to be sound in our country without people coming to our house to kill us, without people coming into our jobs to hurt us, we have to continue to keep democracy alive. And so we're going to answer that burning question of how did she do it and how did they do it. We're going to answer that in this episode. But first, I want to just give a backstory of women's history. Do the women who tuned into this podcast know? Less than 70 years ago, we were not able to vote. I'm going to repeat that. Less than 70 years ago, we were not able to vote. So while on the podcast, we definitely want you to have financial freedom, we want you to build generational wealth. Matter of fact, you are building generational wealth. You are financially free. Those are the affirmations that we're going to claim. While you're also empowering yourself through your finances, we're going to empower you today on Sweet Millionaire Formula with some women's history. Okay? So the first thing that we wanted to talk about today, we're going to talk about several things today. We're going to talk about the backstory of women's history. We're going to talk about understanding Kamala Harris's political views. We're going to talk about the strength of a Black woman. We're going to talk about the right to fight and what we're fighting to win. But first, I want to give you guys some backstory on the divided suffrage. And when I say divided suffrage, what I mean is a suffragist is a person who's advocating their right to vote to be extended to people no matter the race, no matter the sex. So women back in the 1800s, women like Mary Bethune, Ida B. Wells, those women, they were prominent in the Black women's community because they fought the good fight. And because they fought the good fight, we have companies like the National Council of Negro Women, which has 4 million members They have the Divine Nine, all sororities, all fraternities. They have 28 nationwide affiliates and over 200 society divisions. So when you ask, how did Kamala Harris rally 44,000 women? It's because of women like Mary Bethune. Mary Bethune founded, as you guys may know, an HBCU, a private college called Bethune Cookman University. But Mary Bethune spent her life from 1865 to 1965 is 100 years to suffrage. Mary Bethune spent her life for women's suffrage. She created a company, a National Council of Negro Women, again, that has 4 million members. She did this in 1865. Talk about the strength, the intelligence, the impact, the vision Miss Bethune had to have to feel 100 years into the future, knowing that we would need a coalition that's united in order for our voices to move as a unit. Okay? Let's just clap it up for that, Miss Mary Bethune, and her creating the National Council of Negro Women in 1935. It was founded in 1935. My correction, not 1865. It was founded in 1935. But again, she spent her life's work still for women's suffrage. There were 5 areas that black people had to face in order to be able to vote. So being able to vote is not a topic that we just want to kind of water down. Being able to vote is the core center of our democracy. When we show up to the vote polls, when we show up at registration, when we have the proper ID, when we stand in those lines, when we commemorate together, when we feel the energy and the impact of us all together to be able to vote, that is the power of democracy. This feels like President Obama back in 2008. But I want to highlight a few things that prevented us the right to vote. They had race, they had literary tests, invasive registrations, interpretation tests, and poll taxes, which is an outright violation of just civil rights, human rights. And when you think about being able to vote, I want you to keep in context that you had to take a literary test, you had to pay taxes, you had to overcome you being black, you had to overcome you being an immigrant or any race that was not a white man. You had to overcome all of these stipulations to be able to vote. So why would you think that you have the freedom to not vote? You have freedom in voting. When you don't vote, you're taking your own power away. And so that's why I wanted to give some context as to why it's important that you vote and that you take the opportunity to register to vote seriously, because it took from 1865 to 1965 for black women to be able to vote. I'm going to say that one more time. It took 100 years to suffrage. From 1865 to 1965, black women were denied for over 100 years the right to vote. It wasn't until August 6, 1965, that Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voters' Right Act. And what blew me away is to make the statement that less than 70 years ago, we didn't even have the right to vote. It wasn't until 1984 that the final state in America, in the United States of America, was to ratify that into law. It wasn't until 1984 that Mississippi was the last state to ratify the Voters' Right Act into law. Okay? So let's take a look at the 15th Amendment. Take you back. So with the 15th Amendment, we had black men that were going to fight wars for this country. When they came home, they were being lynched, killed, treated as animals with no say-so. It wasn't until the 15th Amendment that black men were given the right to vote. The 15th Amendment, according to the Library of Congress and the House of Representatives, 144 Republicans voted to approve the 15th Amendment with 0 Democrats in favor, 39 no votes, and 7 absentees. With the ratification of the 15th Amendment, many believed that the process of restoring the Union was safely coming to a close and that the rights of freed slaves were finally secure. Black voters were systematically turned away from state polling places. To combat this problem, Congress passed the 15th Amendment in 1870. So in 1870, black men were granted the right to vote. They were free, they were human, they had the Union, and they were being turned away from every place to vote in their states. It wasn't until this amendment was passed in 1870 that granted black men the right to vote, right? So it wasn't until literally nearly 100 years later that black women had the right to vote. And I'm going to tell you this, with the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified in August 18th, 1920, granted American women the right to vote, a right known as women's suffrage. It prohibits the United States and its states from denying the right to vote to citizens of the United States based on sex. So, y'all thought that black women had the right to vote, right? In 1920? Yeah, wrong. Because black women and all people, immigrants included, were not able to vote until 1965. Okay? The Voters' Right Act is what allowed all people to be able to vote. August 6, 1965. So white women were granted the right to vote nearly 45 years before us. So, again, the 19th Amendment was the biggest legislative achievement of civil rights movement. The bill protects all citizens' right to vote under the 14th and 15th Amendment. But it wasn't until the Voters' Right Act was passed and signed into law that the ratification took place in the United States. So this is just giving you a backstory of why voting is important, because people had to spend hundreds of years to fight for this opportunity to vote. You cannot let your mindset, the noise from social media, you have to go, and if you're curious enough, to do your own research. And that's why I was really moved to do this episode and really excited, because Kamala Harris being nominated for president and being able to run for president is the most historic, the most groundbreaking, the most optimistic and fulfilling feeling as a woman in the United States of America, as a black woman in the United States of America, to know that our president will be a black woman. It is, God had her sitting in the cut, because even I was like, what has she done? But I didn't realize she's been doing her part as vice president for 4 years. She has no scandals. She has no mix up. She has no doubt about it. Her presence has been felt each and every room, each and every event that she's been at. And it wasn't until the time was right that she was pulled forward for a time such as this. And I love the fact that she has been prepared. Like, it was seamless. The transition from her being vice president to running for president is seamless. And I love how they said, when is a black woman, like they said, when is she prepared? And then the question was like, when is a black woman not prepared? Like, be for real. We prepare for the worst, and we specialize in the wholly impossible. That is a quote by Nanny Helen Barrows. Black women specialize in the wholly impossible. We get it done. We don't ask questions. We are creative enough to find a solution to every single obstacle to make sure that it's possible to come through. We are equipped enough with the DNA to overcome our own setbacks and overcome the setbacks that this world stacks against us. And we're able to push through with a mindset of clarity, with intelligence, and with power that is like no other. We specialize in the impossible. We make the unreal real. We bring visions from our bodies into real life places, into real life atmospheres. And I believe that that's the most empowering thing to know is that not only am I a Black woman, but I have the power to bring the vision in my soul to life without any help. I never waited on anybody to give me a hand to start Sweet Millionaire Formula. I never waited on anybody to give me a hand to start Spa Weekend. These are visions that sat in my spirit for years that I never had the opportunity or never felt that I was good enough or never felt that I had the money enough or never felt that I had the credit enough, never felt that I had the recognition enough to be able to produce companies that would heal up the suffrage that I've had to experience in my life as a Black woman. So to see, to feel, we just got off a call last night with Black Girls Vote, over 1,000 women on the line. It was the energy from, and shout out to Nikea Robinson, the founder and CEO of the nonprofit Black Girls Vote. She is phenomenal. Shout out to Gia Peppers, Angela Wright, Latosha Brown for coming onto our call last night. It was absolutely phenomenal to be in a room of 1,000 Black women of all races, I'm sorry, but mostly Black women to celebrate, to rally behind Miss Kamala Harris, and to be able to show up and show support and provide clarity to one another as to why the vote matters. We didn't just talk about Kamala Harris. We talked about why the right to vote matters and why your voice is important. And I'm super excited that there's this heartbeat of prosperity and resilience that Black women have. It's like when we're in a room together, nobody's competing, nobody's trying to see who's the smartest, nobody's trying to out talk one another. We're giving each other full room to be who we are without questioning um our mindsets, without questioning our hearts about who we're surrounded by. When we're together, we know we're surrounded by power and movers and shakers. And I just believe that the what you're fighting for is for your lifestyle. You're fighting for the opportunity to voice your opinion. You're fighting for the chance for your daughter, your son, your niece, your nephew to be able to stand on the same podium as President Kamala, running Vice President Kamala Harris, to be able to say that this country is built on the backs of African Americans. We've provided everybody else the opportunity, but you're going to have to hear a Black woman, and for her to be able to stand there prepared, supported, and fully empowered to run this country. That's what I support personally. And I believe that this episode was meant for me to give some morale, some backstory, and some history as to why you should be voting and to why your voice is important, right? And I want you guys to know that for me, as an individual first, I did not believe that I had the power in me to live financially free. When I work, I have been working for Wendy's. I have worked for Uber, Lyft. I had done college in between those years, and it just it just felt like a lonely road for like 9 years. I'm just being honest with you guys right now. But it felt like a lonely road for the last 9 years because I went from having a full ride to Howard University to literally 3 years later becoming a mom, losing my scholarship, and having to go back to Cleveland, Ohio. So when I went back to Cleveland, Ohio, um, and I stayed back in the projects, I was back in the projects, I was back at square one. Everything that I had spent 18 years to get out of in a matter of moments, I was right back in the same boat as everybody else in my family, living in the projects, on food stamps, no job, just so stressed out. This is literally less than 7 years ago. My daughter's 9 now. Yeah, this is like 7 years ago. And I had to go home. Oh gosh, I want to cry, guys. But I had to go home and I had to face the fact that I had lost everything, my full ride, my character, my power as a person. And I had to sit with it and I had to figure out, was I good enough to come back? Like, how would I come back from this? And I can tell you right now that the strength of a black woman is real. Your mindset is real. Your power is real. Your thoughts are power. Your faith and your belief in God is what's going to change your life. Okay? Jesus Christ himself would not let me stay stagnant, down, and low. I was low for a while when I went back home, you know, and I got this job at Starbucks and I was like, this job, I'm going to work my way up to manager. I'm going to become like the division manager at Starbucks. I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to have a stable career, $80,000 a year, you know. This is my mindset at 25 and 26. I'm telling you, my mindset was this. So I worked at Starbucks. I built myself back up again. Moved out of the projects, got my own house, got me a car, went back to school through Starbucks. And do y'all know that I learned, God, it's so good. I learned entrepreneurship and business from Starbucks paying for my college for a year. No out of pocket money was paid. I had to pay for it to go to college. I learned web design. I learned entrepreneurship. I learned business. I learned so many things. I learned web design. I learned all these things. Mind you, I was 25, 26. And so shortly after I started going to school, making great grades, about a year and a half later, the racism came up. Starbucks ended up firing me since I came into Starbucks 2 or 3 minutes late more than 3 times, whatever the case. So I took them to court for 4 months. I lost everything, and it was quite devastating to think that you're putting your foot down on something. But that was the first time I saw myself fight for myself. And even though I lost everything, I knew that I had fought for myself. And so I'm saying all that to say, when God gives you a vision, he not coming out of, even though I was at the worst time in my life, it's crazy that literally uh he brought me out of Cleveland back to the DMV, and now look at me. Books are written, shows produced, on the news, on the networks. I'm on the board at a senior living facility for my brand spa weekend. I am coming back better than I have ever been before, and I just feel like this financial empowerment company, Sweet Millionaire Formula, is the way to reshape your mindset and empower your family, because we give you the tools, we give you the articles, we give you the backstory, we give you all the things that you need to make a sound decision, the classes, the webinars, to make a sound decision on how you're going to build generational wealth. And I believe that me me curating this company around what I didn't have for 31 years is why it's so powerful and impactful. We're in Spain, we're in Germany, we're in London. Our podcast is doing well in Germany, in Spain, in United States, in United Kingdom. I couldn't imagine that my podcast would be listened to in Mexico, in Spain, and Germany, 5 different countries. So you can't tell me that the power of a black woman is not real. You can't tell me the power of your mindset is not real. It is. And this is your opportunity to hone in, take power of your mindset, your vote, your power as a person, and to start to live for a vision that is outside of what you see now. Mary Bethune, when she created National Council of Negro Women over 100 years ago, 1935, it hasn't even been a full 100 years. But when she created that company, she saw and had a vision and moved on her vision when way before another person or another 4 million people could hop on to her vision. So this is the time to rise up, empower yourself, and know that you have the power to fight a good fight. When we fight, we win. Period. So some of our key points and key takeaways for today was the power and strength of your vote. Keep in mind the women's history and the backstory of women's suffrage all the way back to the 1865, 1800s. I want you to take more time, if you can, to study your 19th and 15th Amendments in the Voters' Writing Act. And I want you to know what you're fighting for and give yourself empowerment by fighting for what you stand for. And that's also going to happen if you empower your vote, not just with the president, but also doing the research on your local congressman, your local councilman, those people who take what you say at the polls in your communities and take that to the United States Congress, which is a part of the three legislations that make up the United States Congress. So I want you guys to be aware of that. I'm super thankful for you guys tuning in. Please, please subscribe and follow and comment on the podcast. If this is your fourth time here, I'm seeing the numbers and we're doing numbers. Please follow and please rate our podcast so that we can have genuine feedback to report back to Spotify. We are expanding at a fast rate. We're in 5 different countries right now. And I need you guys. This is like, I'm begging you almost. Please follow and please rate our podcast on Spotify. We are literally less than 40 votes away from 40 listeners away from monetizing. And my hard work and dedication to provide you guys this information comes from my passion, the knowledge that has allowed me to live financially free and build my own generational wealth. But I know if you continue to follow, like, and subscribe and share with the podcast, then we're going to help and empower another woman, another man, another child who's listening to our podcast. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Spotify. If this is your 4th time here, 5th time here, follow us on Spotify. Don't let the day go by without following us and without shooting us a good like, subscription, or share our podcast on your Facebook, your social medias. And I thank you guys for tuning in. Your listening is what keeps me recording. It keeps me bringing you the most updated information. And stay tuned because we're gonna be launching our Sweet Millionaire Formula website, and our Sweet Millionaire Formula webinars will be coming up soon on the website. So I'm looking forward to launching some amazing things with you guys. But I need you to follow. I need you guys to commit to subscribing because that is free and that is what keeps our podcast being able to grow and continue to go into other countries. Be on the lookout because Sweet Millionaire Formula is going on a live podcast tour next year. And if your city wants to come, just leave a like or subscribe in our comments and we'll put your city on the tour. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you guys next week. Until then, keep feeling that wealth.